What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to discuss the Starfield No Man's Sky comparisons, but more specifically, because I know people have already done that, more specifically, IGN blaming fans for doing it. Now, here's the deal. I actually have quite a few different opinions on this. This is not even purposely trying to play it in the middle. It's just that I think I'm a capable human being that I can see more than one side to this. But what I will say is this. IGN is hilarious for doing, or for, I guess, for proclaiming what they said in terms of saying that it's the fans' fault for doing this. Now, are there fans that the second Starfield was shown, and more specifically, most likely, when they said, you know, over 1,000 planets? Is that the moment that certain fans took to the internet to compare it to No Man's Sky? 100%. I'm not going to pretend like fans... The idea that fans started it is probably true, okay? And by fans, you can make up your own definition of whether it's console warriors or whether it was whatever. But people, average Joes on YouTube, on Twitter, on whatever, they're the ones who originally started it. Sure. But I will go so far to say that IGN is laughable for saying and putting the entire blame on the people when it was also them majorly, along with many other gaming sites, that pushed this further than I would argue most people could. IGN, within the first one day, had a side-by-side comparison video with Starfield and No Man's Sky. GameSpot, all of these different sites did the exact same thing. So the idea, again, here's the deal, okay? The idea of comparing it to No Man's Sky, we can briefly touch upon it. Again, I know it's been talked about before. Look, we're all human. When you see something, especially when you're in the gaming landscape, right, you are naturally going to compare it to something. I mean, life actually in general is about comparisons, okay? You see something, your brain at some point is going to say, hey, I'm going to compare it to something else. Is that comparison always perfect? No. No, it's not. Is it sometimes better? Maybe you can find a better one, but you didn't think of it? Sure. So again, not trying to play it down the middle, but I mean, it is factually fair, I think, for people to look at it and say, all right, well, we got to think of a game that's somewhat close. No Man's Sky. I don't think that's all that crazy. Now, the idea that it's kind of beholden to No Man's Sky and its floor is the same floor as No Man's Sky. Its ceiling is the same ceiling. You know what? That really is a disservice to both games. Does that make, if you're comparing Starfield and you're saying its limits in every direction, left, right, up, down, is the exact same limit as No Man's Sky, you're insulting No Man's Sky. You're limiting what No Man's Sky is. You're also limiting, obviously, what Starfield is. You haven't played Starfield yet, so there's only so much you can say. And I do think criticizing or having complaints or whatever about a game before it comes out, I think is fine. It's not a big deal. But you can't give a full-on 100% opinion on a game that's not out yet, right? And you haven't even played it. So it's impossible to do that. Again, not playing it down the middle, but understanding it. Yeah, is it understandable that people would jump to a No Man's Sky comparison? Of course it is. Again, let's not be stupid. Of course it is fair to jump to that. Is it 100% right? No. Because, I mean, there are going to be some things that don't work. Even the idea of 1,000 planets, that's not even what No Man's Sky... I mean, yes, again, it's probably the first thing you think of when you hear, oh my god, 1,000 planets. Are some of them going to be lifeless? Or some of them going to be just it's going to be boring to go through? I mean, you may think of, when No Man's Sky first launched. Again, I don't think that's insane to do that. But to limit that's all Starfield can be, maybe it is. For sure it could be. But we also don't know. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on it. The comparison talk is the comparison talk. What I find more funny, and this oftentimes happens with these mainstream journalists, is they deflect. So IGN is a huge perpetrator of that discussion. Now, yes, maybe they did see some fans talking about it online. They said, hey, this is a good idea. I mean, that is also natural, right? You see something, I see people talking about this. I say, hey, that could make a good video. I mean, I get it, but then you're going to blame them? So IGN sees people talking about it. They say, oh, whether they agree, disagree, whatever. They say, well, we're going to make a couple videos. We're going to make an editorial on this. I mean, we're going to go all in. Obviously, every single site, they all are a hive mind. They all think exactly the same. So they do it all, right? Everybody writes the same articles. Everybody makes the same videos. And they publish it. And they say, how dare you, the fans, compare these two? And it's what are you talking about? You did it. Yes, maybe they did it first, maybe, and maybe only it was some of them, but I mean, you elevated the discussion, and again, make no mistake, obviously they're elevating the discussion. I mean, IGN, for as much as I bash them, they are still gigantic. When they make this stuff, I mean, it's going to get people talking, and also, why do you think they are making this kind of stuff? Because they know that it's going to spark more outrage from whoever, whatever happens. It's going to spark that, and then they can go, and they can even talk about it further. And they could almost, I guess, pretend like their part of the saga, of the story, didn't even happen, right? They say some fans started this, and then all of a sudden it became a huge, right? It started over here, then it became a gigantic deal, and like everybody was talking about it. It's like, well, you're forgetting the part where you're kind of right towards the beginning, and you sparked it. It's a joke. I mean, ultimately, is it that big of a deal? No. Have sites like IGN, Kotaku, these PC Gamer, have they done worse things in their lives? Of course. This is kind of like this is a middling to below average kind of stupid thing that they've done. They're all capable of much, much worse than this, but it's laughable to me. It's laughable that they are a huge part of the discourse of pushing that comparison, and they pretend like they didn't do it at all. They pretend like it never happened, like they're just kind of idly standing by watching it all play out. It's like, what are you talking about? You made a video, a side-by-side. No, yes, it was kind of like opinions aside. They didn't really say much, but I mean, like, you did a side-by-side comparison of No Man's Sky and Starfield. Like, that was the biggest one, by the way. I believe IGN's comparison, or maybe there was others, but I bet you IGN's came first. I'm sure they thought of the idea first because they saw, again, some people talking about it, and then they did their own thing. It's hilarious. Again, you can blame whoever, and I'm not saying that fans didn't legitimately start. I think fans did start it. I do. I think the odds of one fan on Twitter, and I'm exaggerating like the opposite way, one fan on Twitter starting that talk literally the second Todd Howard says 1,000 planets, right? That second, they go on Twitter and they type it, it gets trending, whatever. I'm sure that happened before the geniuses at IGN caught wind, okay? It's very, I think it's pretty possible the average Joe beat IGN to something. Actually, everything. I'm pretty sure that's very possible. But then IGN took it and ran with it, and then they pretended like they didn't. And that's not going to stand. At least it's not going to stand for me. And I'm happy, by the way, final thing I'll say, when they tweeted this whole thing, fans started the Discord, whatever, there was a lot of pushback saying, like, what are you talking about? You did. And again, then people are saying, well, fans actually did start it. And it's like, yeah, again, you got to kind of, I think they're kind of playing it in between the lines where it's like, yes, they are telling the truth. Fans did start it. But the way it reads is like, this is all the fans' fault. When you had equal, if not more, and maybe not just IGN, but your brethren, your hive mind cult that you have with the other gaming journalists, you guys had just as much, if not more, to do with it than these fans that you claim, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on for more controversial videos, and I hope to see you all on the next one.